Hello Giants fans, welcome to Giants Baseball 101. I'm Gabe Vaughn, your host. The Giants lost to the Dodgers today 9-5. Just a bad start, again from Alex Wood. Nothing like his last one, which was almost a no-hitter. He allowed 6 earned runs. And the bullpen, they came in, they didn't help things any either. The Giants did make a pretty good comeback attempt. From having been behind 6-0, they scored 5 runs. And it was including a single from Luis Gonzalez, a double from David Villar, then another home run from Joey Bart. He had a home run in that series against the Cubs, now another one against the Dodgers, so some of his power does seem to be starting to show right now. So it's just they cannot figure out how to play the Dodgers, and that is a problem. Just because the Dodgers are a good hitting team doesn't mean the Giants pitchers don't need to figure out how to throw the pitches that will get them out. And the Giants have shown some good offense against the Dodgers some of the time. So I think that pitching and defense have really been more of the issues for them, but it is sickening when you see your team played this other team that they just can't beat, even when it is one of the best teams in the league. Now, about this trade deadline business, the Giants traded Darren Ruff to the Mets and Curt Casali to the Mariners. Matthew Boyd, a pitcher who has spent the entirety of this season so far on the injured list for them, never pitched. I'm unimpressed by that. He was also traded to the Mariners. Trevor Rosenthal went somewhere. I can't exactly remember where. The Giants signed him. He spent the whole time on the injured list with them. He didn't throw a pitch for them. So, but the main guys that have played for the Giants this year that went were Ruff and Casali. Neither of them was particularly impressive with the bat. Both have low batting averages. I mean, you really have to look at the advanced statistics to get the whole picture. But, you know, neither of them were actually at superstar status this year. So, they're both traded. I wouldn't call that really super selling because it's not like they sold just the best players that they had. This is technically selling. It's not just super selling craziness though. And the Giants, all they acquired at the trade deadline was prospects though. That's the point. They traded Ruff and Casali. They have not made a single improvement to their roster through this trade deadline. Juan Soto went to the Padres, by the way. The Padres are in the Giants division, so instead of the Giants getting him, they're going to have him to pitch to when they play the Padres. It's just the way it is now. So the roster was not improved for the Giants. All they got was prospects. I'm unimpressed. I just am. I just think that this is not cool. I can't tell you whether these prospects are, in the long run, going to be good. I mean, every good player mostly they were a prospect at some point in their career, but although a few were non-prospects who kind of snuck into the majors, made an impression. Every player was a minor leaguer at some point, but when you're contending, you want the guys who can help you right now and who are in the major leagues and have established themselves as good major league regulars. Now, are the Giants contending? We're going to get to that in a minute. But first of all, I'm just saying, I can't tell you how these prospects will be in the long run. I also can't tell you how long it's going to take them to reach the major leagues. It could be different for each one. How long is it going to take for them to be developed? What does the whole player development personnel need to do with those players, whether it's the coaches or the people in the player development department who have these roles? What do they need to do to get these players ready for the major leagues? Well, I can't tell you because nobody knows right now because they haven't seen them play yet in the Giants minor league system. So What we get is players that we're uncertain at best about for right now. No help for the Giants roster. It's just, I can't agree with this front office decision. The Giants needed roster help, and all that they got was prospects. You have to use your trade deadline to be able to get more than that, because this roster needed some more, but the Giants didn't do that. And this despite the fact that they were definitely in contention for a wild card spot this year. They still didn't do it. Now, what's the other interesting thing? Here's the thing I needed to get to. Carlos Rodon has not been traded. He's still a Giant. And what would that indicate? Well, to me, the impression to me that the message it gives me is that basically the Giants, to some extent, are still thinking about a playoff run this year. Although they didn't do a thing to upgrade their roster, just Rodon would have brought a significant return. I mean, I don't know how Farhan Zaidi's negotiating, during the last few hours of the trade period went. So I can't say what offers he was really getting when he was really down to the wire, but everyone was saying Carlos Rodon would have brought in a significant return on prospects. He also has that opt-out clause, so this year is the only guaranteed year of team control the Giants have with him, but he wasn't traded. So the only thing that can really seem to indicate to me is that the Giants are to some degree looking for and vying for a playoff spot. It's what that would tell you. But to really realistically go after a playoff spot, just looking at their record and their recent team statistics, that would seem to tell me they need to upgrade their roster. So it's a weird situation. Rodon sticks on the roster like I wanted him to. Giants are showing that to some degree, whatever degree you think it is, whether they think it's a minuscule chance or whatever, they've demonstrated that to some degree they still think a playoff spot is realistic. They want to give some try for one, otherwise they wouldn't keep a guy they could get a good return on. And yet, that being the case, they don't upgrade their roster in any way, despite the fact that you just think that they would need to do that to get to the playoffs, or at least that would help them a lot. So it was just a weird way to come out of this trade deadline. I don't want to say too much about this, because if these videos ever get to MLB executives, I want them to like it, so I'm going to try to keep my words few here, but I just don't agree with this decision by the front office. I don't see what good it did, and it seemed to put the Giants in a very weird, very awkward position. You're looking for a playoff spot, you've got to buy to some extent. The Giants didn't do any buying, but they also didn't do the selling everybody really expected them to do, which was on Carlos Rodon. And sometimes you can have middle ground at the trade deadline. I can understand that, but I think this middle ground is just exceptionally weird. It's just very weird. So basically the Giants are trying to get into the playoffs, but just get into the playoffs with this roster. And that is going to be hard to do. The odds would be against them, definitely, but surprising things have happened in baseball before, so we're going to keep talking about this. I'm going to keep my eyes on the wild card race, and it'd be great if they really could do it, but I think the business side of this just went awry. I can't see the point in just this particular, no more, no less set of moves at the trade deadline. If you had some kind of way to analyze this sabermetrically, I don't know what kind of a value you'd get. And I shouldn't be talking where something in the real world probably really does not exist for a thing like that. It's about player statistics and stuff, but I'm just saying, what kind of value would you get? It'd be some kind of a negative number here. I don't want to be too confusing. I'm just saying You keep your current roster, assuming, well, at least the Giants are basically clinging on to this little hope that that's going to be enough to get them into the playoffs, so they don't trade Rodon. But it's just, there are two concepts that really go together. You push for the playoffs, which means what goes together with that is that you got to upgrade your roster. I mean, that just seems to be the case to me. The other thing would be you don't, and you sell. And I've mentioned that would have been really bad for the Giants this year, but not to realize the component that goes along with keeping Rodon, which was really a significant push in a playoff direction for the team. It's the only thing they did. The only thing they did at the deadline for this was what they didn't do. So it's weird. I just don't get it. I think this is a very weird situation. The only thing we can do right now is hope that the Giants somehow do something with this roster. We're looking for something that would end up defying the odds to happen. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Giants Baseball 101. Please subscribe if you have not. Also, please email me with any questions or comments at gabrielvon89@gmail.com. Thank you. I'll see you next time on Giants Baseball 101.